Hi there. So this is a quick tutorial on how to use Google Forms to make a quick kind of end of the year awards voted for by students' peers for kind of an end of the year exit or in lieu of signatures on yearbooks during this distance learning time. So this is just an option that I do. I actually do this every year for my students because it's really fun and they really enjoy the validation from their peers, and it causes everyone to really think outside the box and write something really kind about each one of their classmates. So what I do is I create 2 forms, and we do this over a 2-day period. I have the students write about 15 of their classmates one day, and then the next day I have them do the second half of their classmates. I also tell them they don't have to answer about themselves. But what my form looks like is I went into the settings option and I made this as not a quiz. So I toggled off the make this a quiz button. I also can turn things off, like I don't need them to get response receipts. I am letting them edit after they submit, just in case they can't finish this in one sitting and they want to come back in and edit their responses. I'm also making sure each question is not required, because if it is required, it means they have to answer it before they submit their form, which sometimes causes stress to some kids. If they don't have anything to say about a student, I don't want to stress them out and make them say something, because I don't know the dynamic of every relationship perfectly. So in order to do that, I have to put directions at the top. Mine say this: please fill in the blank about your peers, numbers 1 through 15. Remember, only kind responses are allowed, and be considerate of other people's feelings. These are not anonymous, so I can see where each response comes from. I'm also going to add in at the end here, please be kind, or I will withhold your responses from your peers if you choose to not follow the directions, which usually gets my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders little booties in gear. They follow directions when they have that kind of consequence looming over them. So the students, in order to make this question box, I make sure to choose a short answer option. There's so many options for Google Forms. I also just type in my question, which is number 1, this student is most likely to, and then the students are going to fill in the blank. After I write this one question, like I said, I make sure to toggle off required. You can also add a description if you'd like, but you don't really need to. And when this is ready, I just copy this and then I would change it to another student, okay? And that is how easy it is to copy questions in Google Forms. All right, you also want to make sure to take a look at the form before you send it out to your kids by clicking on the preview button. It allows you to see the form as your students would see it and to double check that there aren't any spelling errors. Okay, once you have responded, all right, your students, you're going to be able to look at a summary, the question specifically. So now I can see who said what about this student, or I can look at the individual responses. When you're ready, though, you're going to click this green icon up in the top corner, and remember, this is under the responses section, and it will take you into a Google Sheet that has all of your students' answers on there. Here are my students' email addresses. I can see who wrote each one, and then what they said about each student. All right. For example, our first student, this is what all of his classmates wrote about him. It's pretty funny. It's pretty cool. I always like to go through them and make sure I think they're all appropriate. This student in particular talks about buffets a lot, so I know that these comments about a buffet are appropriate and okay, and they are just inside jokes between our classmates. And this student loves to go to buffets. Other things that you just want to make sure that they say appropriate things, and a lot of them do. They're very kind. When the students are prompted, they are very kind to each other. Now, what you can do is I could take a screenshot of just this student's responses, and I can screenshot it to the students, or I can select this column, I can copy it, and then I can go paste it into a pretty Google slide, like an award ceremony or something like that. And it allows my students to get these very cute responses to each other. I also gave them a link to a database that had a bunch of most likely to options, so that if they had brain moments where they just couldn't break through and had writer's block, they were able to get some inspiration from that website. And that's how you use Google Forms in order to make a fun end of the year awards exit ticket for you and your maybe junior high students.